Sarah was making herself breakfast when she heard a persistent knock on the door. When she went to open it, there stood a man on her doorstep. "Good morning," said the stranger. "Would you give me some money?" Sarah, at first, recoiled in fear. She mentally wondered if she had enough time to close the door and run to the phone in the kitchen to call the police. "Why should I give you money?" she asked, and continued to ponder how likely she would succeed in carrying out her plan. "If only fate were as favorable to me as it is to you. I don't have one arm." The stranger spoke, raising and showing his disfigured arm to Sarah through the sleeve of his shirt. The man's situation hit Sarah. She decided that the man wasn't dangerous and thought of an idea. "All right," she answered boldly. "I'll give you the money, but you'll have to move the bricks from the yard to the garage." A week before Sarah had finished building a cozy backyard porch with a brick oven. Unused bricks from the project lay scattered around the backyard. Sarah had intended all week to stack them neatly on a pallet in the garage for a forklift to take them away. But the bricks were so heavy, and the woman kept putting off the arduous task of carrying them from one place to another. "And how am I supposed to do that?" the man asked, "for I don't have one hand." Sarah didn't argue. She stepped out onto the porch and beckoned the stranger behind the house with her finger. She walked over to the mountain of bricks. She picked up the brick with one hand and carried it to the open garage door. The stranger followed Sarah close behind as she walked over the pallet in the garage and placed the single brick on it. Somehow you have to do that with all the bricks. And mind you, it only takes one hand to do it. It'll take a little longer, but we're in no hurry, are we? The man nodded and started carrying each brick one at a time. He worked for a few hours. By the time Sarah treated him to coffee, sandwiches, and paid him for his work. So ended that day. Years later, Sarah had forgotten all about the incident and the bricks, when one morning there was a knock on the door. The woman opened the door and saw a well-dressed, attractive man. He smelled of expensive cologne. He smiled at her from the other side of the doorway. Sarah asked him what he needed, and he pulled out a wad of money, holding it out for her to take, and said, "Here, take this. It's your money." "Mine? For what? What is this bounty?" wondered the woman. "A few years ago, it was you who gave me faith in myself and my powers," replied the man. That was when Sarah recognized the one-armed stranger who had changed so much. Now the sleeve of his expensive jacket was no longer hanging like a rag, but was worn over an expensive prosthetic arm, almost indistinguishable from his real one. Sarah smiled and returned the money with the words, "Then you earned it honestly, so give it to someone who has no hands." The words struck a chord in the stranger. He nodded politely to Sarah's instructions, put the money back in his pocket, and walked toward a chauffeured car. When he got into the back seat, he waved goodbye to Sarah before signaling to the driver to leave. Believe in yourself and your strength. Problems can be much more easily solved than you think. It is the fears within that stand in the way of us achieving our goals. Overcome them, and luck will be with you.